Hey, welcome into Husker247 Daily. I'm Mike Schaefer, joined by Michael Bruntz here on Wednesday morning. And I want to talk about Nebraska's offense, mostly because I don't want to talk about Nebraska's defensive line for like the 75th straight day. Is that okay, Bruntz? Does that
Yeah,
work?
that works for me.
Okay. So let's talk about this offense. Nebraska's off to a pretty good start offensively. Even in their one loss, had what, 6 scoring opportunities, scored on 4 of them, the missed field goal, the turnover on downs. So they moved the ball against a Michigan defense that's pretty good. Not the Michigan defense that won a national title or played in the college football playoff the year before and got absolutely smoked by TCU, I should point out. But a Michigan defense that's good and certainly the best that Nebraska has played, and they were still able to move the ball on them. And I think that's kind of an important thing here, because I believe, as I have pontificated on this show or on Husker 24/7 podcast or on the Hypecast or any of the other places, I think Nebraska needs to lean into being as strong of an offensive unit as they can and try to play through their offense to win football games to help kind of carry that defense a little bit. I don't think the defense is unfixable. I don't think the defense is trash. I just think Nebraska's offense is the stronger of the two sides. Lean into it a little bit and figure out how you can put up even more points than what you did against Michigan in conference play. And I think Nebraska will ultimately be okay in most of the games that they play this year. So to do that, I mean, how can Nebraska improve upon its defense, or excuse me, on its offense?
You didn't want to talk about him. You're talking about him. Come on.
Freudian slip. The defense always on my mind over here. Bruntz, the obvious is the offensive line, and so we'll just get that out of the way. I mean, besides just like, hey, you block better, is there anything you think Nebraska can do schematically or anything you think Nebraska can do to sort of help things out there? Anything Dylan Raiola can do in the face of some of that pressure?
I don't know. I don't know. Like it feels like a more consistent running game would really help them. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if it's different kinds of runs. If I don't think the personnel is going to change a ton. So I think it's just when you have when you're able to scheme up good runs, and I think Nebraska has actually. Like I think Dana Holgerson does a pretty good job of scheming the run game. I think it's just finishing blocks and finishing runs. Like in that first half against Michigan and that first drive especially. I mean, Nebraska really had Michigan on skates. You had the 14-yard carry by Emmett Johnson, I believe, was the longest run of the game, and it just kind of went in just went in a hole basically the rest of the way. So I think in the run game, you're going to have to get a little bit more creative, and that's just kind of the problem of not having a quarterback who's a running threat. I mean, Dylan can pull the ball on a read, but I mean, I'm guessing Michigan State is probably not awake. Wasn't awake last night, being concerned about Dylan's feet. So I think you just have to find ways to get Emmett Johnson in space, and he's also got to finish those runs a little bit better when you have the opportunity. I mean, I don't know at 4 games into this thing if there's really kind of some magic bullet that Nebraska hasn't discovered yet. Maybe there is. Maybe that's the big surprise that Dana Holgerson was hinting at yesterday. But I just think it's more just being consistent up front because, like he said, I mean, if it's not, he's not the type of offensive coordinator that's just going to bang his head against the wall just to run the ball. You know what I mean? So they got to get that figured out. Otherwise, it's going to be, you're not going to have the opportunities to run the ball just because he's going to look elsewhere for being able to move the football.
See, in my pea-sized brain, Nebraska's running issues being what they are don't just get solved. So I would lean more into the pass. Like that's your best unit or best part of your offensive unit. You just have to figure out how you can avoid taking some of those sacks. And to me, some of that is just Dylan Raiola getting the ball out. And I agree with you. You're a little bit limited in what you can do in the run game. But other teams, like this is one of those things that like I kind of want to push back on a little bit. Like, yes, Dylan Raiola can't give you the zone read or can't take off and run, or you can't use him in a speed option. But other teams in the Big Ten have had success running the football without quarterbacks that can move. Caleb Johnson is obviously an NFL talent. That's why he was drafted by the Steelers. But it's not like any of Iowa's, bleep show of quarterbacks over the last couple of years were particularly effective runners. And so, Mark Gronowski's a much better runner now. We'll see when he's healthy than what Iowa had, but they're still able to run the ball. Some of it is just being able to rep and run forward. And some of it is Emmett Johnson has to be a little bit better. And maybe Nebraska is just limited enough at running back and limited enough with their offensive line that they can't just line it up and run the football. So, which is problematic in its own end. But if you recognize that now in Game 5, that gives you an opportunity to play things a little bit differently. They got a Michigan State defense, Bruntz, this weekend that is kind of porous everywhere, I think is maybe the polite way to to phrase what the Spartans are going to bring defensively. Do you think that can kind of help jumpstart things for Nebraska in the running game? Just taking on a defense that maybe is struggling in some ways, and this is not like a ferocious defensive front that they're going to get on Saturday.
No, they're not. I mean, I think it's an opportunity to kind of find some things that work. I mean, I think that was kind of the benefit, I guess, of maybe where the bye week fell on the schedule was you were able to kind of take a game against a decent Michigan team, a good Michigan team, and go back and kind of look and see like what worked and what didn't. Because I think in some ways Nebraska would almost kind of benefit from simplifying things in the run game a little bit. I do wonder if there's personnel changes at offensive tackle, if that helps a little bit in terms of who you're getting on the field to be able to run block a little bit better. Nebraska, obviously, we've talked for years about Nebraska's issues with the screen game. Is there something there you can find with Emmett Johnson as a pass catcher or somebody else in that offense and getting the screen game going a little bit? It's always feels like fits and starts, but I do think that you've got to explore some things. Like you said, I mean, if the passing game is the best part of your offense, you might just have to use the short passing game as an extension of your running game and in place of it in some cases.
Do you think the issue with the screen game, because here's what stands out to me. I think they have a running back that can utilize the screen game. I think they have a quarterback that can make that throw in a way that maybe Adrian Martinez, he's probably the best example, couldn't. Do you think it's an issue if their offensive line isn't athletic enough to be able to do that? Is that really what that comes down to?
It's been a frequent issue going back multiple coaching staffs that it's basically a coin flip whether or not you get an offensive lineman touching a defensive player on a screen pass. Is that fair? Like,
I think that's a fair.
Like as a coin flip, is that a good percentage?
Is there a coin out there that it lands 75% on one side and 25% on another?
I don't know.
I mean, it's not the two-face coin. It's not, it's not two-face coming out there. Harvey Dent flipping the coin, and it's going to come up one direction. But
I mean, sometimes you even get an offensive lineman tackling your guy. You get an offensive lineman tackling your own player. So
I'm like dumbfounded by how simple is so hard for Nebraska in some regards. Like, you can see teams that don't have near the talent go execute a screen pass. But if Nebraska attempts to do it, or the better version of this to me, if Nebraska attempts the bootleg where they fake the stretch play one direction and then roll their quarterback the other with the tight end coming across, they give up like 7 million yards to the 2 that they've gained in the last decade. Is that a fair characterization?
Yeah, no, I think that is. I mean, but I guess is it a matter of simplicity and finding things that actually work? Like, is that the issue? Like, what's I guess that's what I kind of wondered coming out of the bye week is like, you've had a whole week to really dig in and try things. You've got 4 games to kind of see what you can do and what you can't, against Power 4 opponents. Like, it feels like the time to kind of pare things down a little bit and kind of finding identity and things that, when you have 2nd and 6, you can go in there and put yourself in a good situation.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out this weekend against Michigan State what Nebraska, if anything, they're choosing to change offensively as they take on the Spartans. Well, that does it for us today on Husker247 Daily. Be sure to check out Husker247.com. Plenty of coverage there. Of course, Dana Holgorsen, John Butler spoke on Tuesday. We've got that stuff. We've got more. Nebraska making offers. Still making offers. Nebraska have a big visit list, by the way. If you're a VIP member, you can see everybody that's coming into town. Quite a few top 247 talents that are going to be in Lincoln. And then just a bit of a tease here. If you catch this on the early side of the day, there's some interesting rankings changes coming as it relates to the class of 2027, and a few Nebraska commits are involved in that as well. So that's all I will say there. And be sure to check out everything we have going on the site. So for Michael Bruntz, I'm Mike Schaefer. We'll catch you another time.